Hey everybody, Keep7 here, back with another Kaldheim spoiler video. And today we are going to be going over 4 cards. I haven't really found much, considering it's spoiler season. I feel like usually it's quite a handful of cards a day, and I've been waiting over the past couple days to culminate as much as I can, and I've only found 4. So let's get right into them. So the first is Calamitybearer, which is a 4-mana 2/2 red giant berserker creature. If a giant source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to a permanent or player. Instead, it's a 3/4. So, I mean, if they're going for giant tribal, there is a lot of stuff in giant tribal. Croxa and Bone Crusher Giant are obviously the 2 notable ones that are playable in standard right now. Does this make them better? Does this make Giant Tribal playable? I feel like if Giant Tribal is going to be playable, it needs some earlier plays. But this could, I mean, you're gonna play somebody who's playing this and Croxa, and that there's like that 2-mana enchantment, or not 2-mana enchantment. It's like a 2-mana sorcerer or something that, like, you know, target giant gets trample and whatever until end of turn. You're gonna get got by a giant deck, but I still don't think Giants has enough support right now to be a viable deck. You know, this has Berserker in it too. Maybe Berserker Tribal has, you know, maybe because there are some Berserker cards that have been spoiled that look pretty good. So maybe, I doubt it. Giant Tribal is getting support clearly, and maybe it can get there. And you will get got. You know, somebody will resolve a Croxa and then smack you with it and get you for 3 life, and it, you know, it'll be going in for however many that sorcery, it's like, what, +3 or something. You will get got by giants with this and Croxa and everything. Bone Crusher Giant, you will get got at some point. Some maniac out there will be playing it, but won't be me. Next, we have a card that I am pretty excited about. Resplendent Marshal, 1 mana, 3 mana total, 1 and 2 white, angel warrior creature with flying. When he enters the battlefield or dies, you may exile another creature card from your graveyard. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control other than Resplendent Marshal that shares a creature type with the exiled card. He's a 3/3. So this is just more good stuff for Angels. I think it's clear Angels are getting a lot of support, and it better be a playable deck. After all we've seen, there better be a playable Angels deck somewhere out there. I mean, definitely in Historic already has a somewhat playable Angels deck. I mean, it's not great, but especially after all the cards that are coming out, I think Historic could potentially have a very, very decent Angels deck. And then in Standard, I mean, there are a lot of good Angels in Standard right now. So maybe, you know, with this and with all the other cards that are getting printed, maybe Angels is a pretty good deck. How it beats Rogues, I won't know. I don't know. Rogues, I think, just if you're playing like mid-range, I feel like Rogues just can kind of eat it up. I say that, Mono Green Food has a pretty good win percentage against Rogues, but Mono Green Food has a lot of tech in it that is very effective versus Rogues, whereas I don't see that kind of with Angels. At least not yet. But regardless, I think it's a really good card. It has an ETB, which is very good. Exile another creature from your graveyard. So, I mean, you know, when he's put into the battlefield or dies, so this, you know, this requires there already probably being something in your graveyard in order for the ETB to really do anything. But Angel, I mean, the clauses all work for Angel. I mean, if you're playing Angel Tribal, like, you don't even really have to worry about, like, all the words in there. It's just basically when he enters the battlefield and when he dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control other than him, which is pretty good. I mean, late in the game, obviously, that's really good. Earlier in the game, that's kind of weak. If you play this and you just don't really have much else to pump, then it's kind of a meh card. But, you know, as the game goes on, the value of this card just gets better. So, you know, and when it is removed, it gets value for you, which is good. So it enters the battlefield, gives you value. When it's removed, gives you value. This is kind of something that your opponent wouldn't want to remove, right? They don't want all your other creatures growing, so they'll just leave it on the battlefield, and you have a 3-mana 3/3 with flying. So if they don't have anything to block with flying, you know, I think it's a good card. I think it's a really good card, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited for Angels. Definitely going to be playing around and deck building with Angels. The next card is Dragonkin Berserker, which is a 2 mana, 1 in a red. Very cool art. I think that dragon looks super fucking cool. Human Berserker. It's a 2 mana 2/2 with first strike, which off the bat I really like. Human Berserker creature. Boast abilities you activate cost 1 less to activate for each dragon you control, and then it has a boast ability which is 5 mana 4 in a red. Create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. A 2 mana 2/2 with first strike is good. No haste. I mean, haste would just be very, very overpowered. Haste and first strike on a 2/2. A 2 mana 2/2 with haste and first strike would be ridiculous. But a 2 mana 2/2 with first strike is good. I don't really know what boast is. Activate this ability only if a creature attacked this turn. Oh, okay, so boast. I guess you can only activate boast abilities if a creature attacked this turn and only once each turn. Okay, so you can't just pay, what is it? You can't pay 10 mana for 2 5/5s in one turn. You have to pay 5 mana once on your turn to create a 5/5 red dragon creature token. So it's cool. It's definitely awesome. I like it. It has value early because it's a 2 mana 2/2 with first strike, and then has value later in the game when you create 5/5 dragons. So this is kind of Red's version of Speaker of Heavens, Speaker of the Heavens or whatever. Red kind of has that now. I mean, Speaker of Heavens, obviously there's no mana involved with Speaker of the Heavens. You just have to get to 27 life, which we know is actually a pretty big ask. In this, you just have to pay 5 mana and you create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. So you have a mana sink later in the game, but I feel like most red decks want to be spending their mana on Embercleave and stuff like that. So where does this see play? What deck do you see this in? I don't, is this is this just a 2 mana include in mono red? I don't know. I don't think so. I think mono red needs 1-drops more than it needs like 2-drops, right? I think it's 2-drops with like Robber of the Rich and Bone Crusher Giant are pretty solid. I don't think you replace any of those with this. Robber of the Rich obviously better on the play. So maybe this is so like when you're on the draw, when you win game 1 and you need an on the draw play, maybe you play this. But even so, Robber of the Rich, depending on what your matchup is, Robber of the Rich could still be just gas on turn 2, even if you're on the draw. So, oh man, I don't know. Winota, this is a human to get with Winota, but in Winota decks, like what do you really want a 2 mana 2/2 with first strike? Aren't you trying to hit like big bombs with Winota, like your Seasoned Hollow Blades, your Basri's Lieutenants, your Kenriths? Like, isn't that what you're trying to hit with Winota? Not a 2 mana 2/2 with first strike. He can get you a dragon, but like with Winota, your turn 4 is your big Winota turn, and then every turn after that, I mean, maybe you get this on your turn, but he has to attack. He has Indestructible, right, on a Winota attack? Or your humans Indestructible? I can't remember. But if he has Indestructible, and then you can play a land and then create a dragon, so maybe with Winota this is kind of good. That now that I just kind of talked that out, that doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world. Because if you play your big Winota turn 4 play, you top deck a land or something, because probably your hand's pretty empty by the time you've played Winota and gotten all your triggers and stuff. So either you have the land, or you draw a land, or whatever, or you need to draw a land, and then you have 5 mana, and then you can make a 5/5 dragon, and then that obviously activate this ability only when creature attacked this turn. I mean, you're going to be attacking with Winota to get triggers, so yeah, maybe this works with Winota. Winota, not really seeing a lot of play in Standard, and obviously banned in Historic, so like, does this help Winota enough to bring it to the forefront to make it like a meta deck? I don't think so, but it's an interesting card regardless, so pretty cool. And then the last card is Sigrid, God Favored. Another 3 mana, 1 and 2 white, human warrior legendary creature with flash, first strike, first strike and protection from god creatures. When Sigrid, God Favored, enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target attacking or blocking creature until Sigrid leaves the battlefield. And Sigrid is a 2/2. It looks like a female, I think. I can't tell. The picture of the card is kind of blurry, but I'm going to assume. Can't tell if those are pecs or boobs. 3 mana 2/2 is 3 mana 2/2 with flash is good. 3 mana 2/2 with first strike, flash and first strike good. Protection from god creatures is okay. I mean, you have what gods are we really worried about? Heliod. What other gods see play? What's her name? The blinky one. The Thassa doesn't really see much play. And maybe some of those Azorius or Esper Doom Foretold decks, like she's a one of, if even. She doesn't see play. Heliod sees play. Mono White's seeing a little bit of a resurgence, so like, you might see some Heliods out there, and protection from a Heliod could be pretty good, but even then, Heliod is like, in most of those decks, he's not a 4 of. He's like a 2 or a 3, unless, like, I've seen some that run 4 of, but most of the decks I see run, 2 most of the time, 3 some of the time. So she would protect against that. That's where the protection from god creatures could be good. But what really is good is it's flash, and that when you play her, exile up to one target attacking or blocking creature until she leaves the battlefield. Which that's obviously the biggest and most important part, is you can cast her on your opponent's turn for 3 mana and exile one of their target attacking blocking creatures. So what hates this is Embercleave. When your opponent has decided which creature to put their Embercleave on during their attack, you can exile that creature. Embercleave falls off of that creature. They then need to spend mana reattaching Embercleave to a creature. It's really good if they don't have the mana for reattachment. But what is it? Embercleave is 3 mana to equip, or something like that. So it's like, yeah, you got them like on their turn. Like me, if it's a race of a match, she's great. Because they're down to 3 life, you're down to 1 life. They think they're gonna get the trample dam or whatever with Embercleave or something. You're able to exile their questing beast, which has vigilance, and then you get them on the swing back type situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, you exile the thing that they're swinging with that they think that they'll have on the next follow up turn or something, and they have insufficient blockers, and you can get them. So this is really good combat trick, just like Embercleave is essentially a combat trick. You let them attack, and then you get them with your flash first strike 2/2, but this just gets removed by a Bone Crusher Giant next turn. If they have 5 mana, they just Bone Crusher. If they have 5 mana and they've Embercleaved, they just Bone Crusher Giant this, reattach Embercleave, and where are you now? We have Skyclave Apparition, which just gives them back a token. Is that better than this? And this has to worry about legendary rule, so I don't know. It's the fact that it can be played on your opponent's turn is really good, but it suffers from the same downfalls that Skyclave Apparition does, and it's strictly worse because Skyclave Apparition replaces whatever creature they had with a token, whereas this will give them back whatever they wanted, and it just gets removed by Bone Crusher Giant, which is one of, if not the most played card in Standard right now. So I'd love to see this be good, but I just don't think that it is. The Gruul Adventures kind of hates this, but really doesn't care. Like Rogues, this is too expensive to be important for Rogues. Mono green food. Mono green food could kind of hate this, but probably doesn't. If you target one of their, you target one of their feasting troll kings, they just sacrifice it with a witch's oven, and then they just recast it, on their next turn, and then they have a 7/6 or whatever. Then they have a 7/6 that a 2/2 with first strike and protection from gods doesn't really matter then, does it? Obviously, I'm not thinking through entirely, every single turn cycle and board states and stuff like that, but I'm just trying to think in general, what does this hit? When does this feel good to cast? And I'm just not thinking of too many situations where it really matters. It's kind of like Containment Priest, where I felt like Containment Priest would be really good and could really shut some stuff down, and you could exile an Uro here or there or something, and Uro's gone. But like, it's just what a wall of text for a white creature, and it still doesn't feel good enough. White just feels like they're trying with white, and it's just not working. So, I don't know. I'd love to see this be good, but I just don't think that it's good enough. Yeah, kind of unfortunate, but that's it for the cards for today. Didn't really see much else coming through on Twitter, Reddit, or the various subreddits and stuff like that. So just gonna leave it there. Really getting excited about Angels. Like it just looks like there's so much out there for them that it really looks like you could build something fun with Angels. Whether it be like some sort of mid-range deck or something, it really looks like you could do some damage. You could have some fun making some sort of cool little Angels deck out there. Dragonkin Berserker looks like something I can be excited about. I don't know where it's going to go yet, but I feel like somebody's going to find a place for it. My first thought is Winota, like what I sussed out in our just talking about it. When looking at it, looks like it could be cool in some sort of Winota deck. Maybe not. And then the other two cards I think were kind of, we'll see. I doubt that giant tribal is going to be a thing, but if it is, then you'll probably be seeing Calamitybearer around. And then Sigrid Godfavored has a lot to it. There's a lot there written on the card, but all of it still just doesn't feel good enough. And any 3-mana 2/2 is just a rough cast, especially with Gruul Adventure, especially in Standard. Really anywhere, but in Standard, where you have Bone Crusher Giant in it. I mean, this just gets popped off. So, thanks everybody for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.